right, so Get Merked says, I want to see decks from a less spiky perspective. So this is a comment that I get on a lot of my EDH videos, which is players saying, like, why are you designing all of these decks for cEDH, or why are you designing them to all be high power? And here's my basic rundown of that. So basically, you're going to have decks that fall into multiple camps. So you have players who fall into one of two categories. They're either casual players or they're competitive players. So casual can mean like they just have whatever cards they have. They may be restricted by budget or whatever they've collected. They don't want a proxy perhaps, or they just want a lower power format. And then you got your competitive players, who are the players who are either like all the way up to cEDH level, or they just want to play with powerful cards, right? Then you've got your deck, and the deck is either a casual deck or a competitive deck. Same deal, cEDH, etc. So you've got whatever deck you have, and then you've got whatever the player is looking for, right? So if you've got a casual player and they have a casual deck, you're good. The player is looking for a casual experience. That's what the deck is providing. You are solid, right? Now let's say you have a competitive player and they have a competitive deck. You're also good. The deck matches the player. Now, let's say you have a casual player, but you have a competitive deck, right? You might initially think that this is no good, that the deck doesn't match the player, and therefore this doesn't work. However, you're actually good. Why is that? Because it's not that hard to make a competitive deck into a casual deck. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see if I can do a demonstration, right? So what's a super competitive deck? Thrasios Tymna, let's say, right? So I got my super spiky cEDH deck, right? It's Thrasios Tymna. I've got like all the fast mana. I've got Demonic Consultation, Thassa's Oracle. I've got the Cephalid Breakfast combo and Hermit Druid. There's a backup Lab Man to do the tutor. I've got only 29 lands, not even up to 30 lands, a bunch of counter spells, a bunch of ramp. I've got like Memory's Journey to make sure that you don't deck out, a bajillion tutors. So this is a competitive deck, right? And a casual player looked at this deck and goes, I don't want to play this. This is too competitive. All right, here's all you got to do to turn it from competitive to casual. All right, I'm going to cut the combos. So let's cut all this stuff, get rid of Thoracle, get rid of Hermit Druid, get rid of all that. All right, I don't need to play Memory's Journey because we're not doing combo stuff anymore. So obviously we don't do Dread Return now. Okay, what if I don't want fast mana? All right, let's get rid of Lotus Petal, get rid of Elvish Spirit Guide. We don't need like Gix Probe and Noxious Revival. Those can go. We're not going to play Ad Nauseam because, hey, we're casual deck. Casual decks still play Mystic Remore and Rhystic Study. That's fine. They still play counter spells. Oh, let's get rid of Mental Misstep and Pact Negation because those are like super spiky counter spells, right? We got 29 lands. This is all fine. Maybe March of Swirling Mist is a bit overdoing it. Casual decks play removal. Casual decks play ramp. Stacks. This is not really too much in the terms of stacks. And then there's like a bunch of tutors, right? Maybe we don't want this many tutors. So we can get rid of like Sylvan Tutor, Neoform, Eldritch Evolution, Chord, Diabolic Intent, Eldamri's Call, Survival. All right, that looks fine. All right, so now our deck has 75 cards. All right, what 25 cards do I want to play? Well, we have too few lands, right? So we don't have Hermit Druid anymore, so let's just add a forest, a swamp, and an island. All right, now we got 32 lands. I don't know, I'm a casual player. Maybe we want some more lands. And I don't want to play Forbidden Orchard. That's not casual. We can play Reflecting Pool. What do we got? 32. Prismatic Vista's not in here. Let's add that. We've got Morphic Pool. Do we've got the other ones? Rejuvenating Springs, Undergrowth Stadium. Yeah, add that. 34 lands. Maybe we want some more lands. There's no Smothering Tithe in here. All right, let's add Smothering Tithe. And I don't know, creatures aren't as important. We don't need Worldly Tutor. Let's get rid of that. Or Imperial Seal. We can get rid of that. Obviously, we're going to keep like Demonic and Vamp. Tainted Pact. Yeah, not so much a casual card. We can get rid of Tainted Pact. All right, that's all fine. Hey, let's add in Toxic Deluge. All right, so we got 81 cards in the deck. All right, I'm casual Timmy player. I want to add in all my pet cards, all the cards from my binder. Oh, I've got an Avenger of Zendikar. All right, I'm going to add that to the deck. Oh, I want to add Craterhoof Behemoth. I want like more big stompy dudes. Let's add Rampaging Baloth. Oh, I don't have money for Force of Will or whatever. Like, let's make budget a problem here too. Okay, I can't afford duels. Bayou out, Underground Sea out, Tundra out, Trop out, Scrubland out, Savannah out. All right, I'm going to add some fast lands. Botanical Sanctum, Dark Slick, Temple Garden, Godless Shrine, Hallowed. All right, money's a problem. I can't afford Mana Vault, get rid of that. I can't afford Mox Diamond, get rid of that. Mana Crypt's too expensive, get rid of that. Let's just go get rid of everything that's too expensive. All right, what's like super, super duper expensive. One ring that's like 80 bucks. Let's get rid of that. 60. Wow, Jesus Christ. Beseiju is this expensive. Get rid of Chrome Mox. Gilded Drake, that goes. Most people have a demonic tutor. That's fine. All right, we don't need Monamo. That's a luxury. We can get rid of that. 55 for Gemstone Caverns. Sure, get rid of that. Orcish Bowmasters. Sure, get rid of that. That doesn't need to be in the deck. All right, we have 73 cards. We need to add some more lands into the deck. What are all the slow lands? They are Dreamroot Cascade, Shipwreck Marsh, Deathcap Blade, Cultivate. Sure, let's play Cultivate. Let's add some more basics for that. So let's add another island and another forest. Path to Exile. Sure, Path to Exile. Oh, let's add this ramp stuff. Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 visits. Do I have talismans in here? No, I don't. Talisman of Dominance. Talisman of Curiosity. Cyclonic Rift. Lightning Greaves. That's a casual card. All right, Lightning Greaves. Sure, Anguished Unmaking. That's another card that casual players play all the time. Anguished Unmaking. Dovin's Veto. Straight up Counterspell. Arcane Denial. Why not? Oh, sure, let's add Windfall. Sure, why not? Beast Whisperer. Reclamation. Sage. Sure, Ghostly Prison. That's a casual card. We'll add Ghostly Prison to the deck. Reanimation. Animate Dead. Let's add that to the deck. Let's add Night's Whisper. Kenris. Transformation. That's a good removal spell. Let's add that. Is Utopia Sprawl in here? I don't think I had it in here before because I didn't have enough forests. All right, well, we have enough forests now. Utopia Sprawl. Wild Growth. All right, bam. We're at 100 cards, right? Didn't take that long, and it would normally take less time because it would just be based on whatever cards you owned, right? You wouldn't have to go look it up. You would just know what cards you have, and you'd be like, well, this is what I can add to the deck. So all you got to do as the casual player is you just go in and you find the cards that are either the like super backbreaking competitive cards like Thoracle Combo, or the cards that are really expensive that you don't own. So your Mox Diamonds, your dual lands, etc. And all you do is you just trim that stuff out and then put in stuff that you own. Like, oh, I don't have dual lands, but I have shock lands. Or I don't have dual lands, but I've got the slow lands from Innistrad. I have those lands. I don't want Thassa's Oracle in the deck, but I have an Avenger of Zendikar. I'll use that as my win con. I have a Crater Hoof. I'll use that as my win con, right? Oh, I can't afford Mox Diamond and Mana Vault. I'll just play different ramp cards, right? So you just cut away the cards that are the super expensive and or competitive cards, and you just fill them up with more casual cards that are in whatever vein, like whatever collection you happen to own. And the only way this doesn't work is if the deck like literally is super linear and has absolutely no replacement for what you're doing with it. But if it's like, you know, Timna Thrasios generic card value stuff, you can just pretty much replace it with whatever. So that works. Now, what if you're a competitive player and you're given a casual deck? This doesn't work because you have no basis with which to build the deck up, right? So if this is what you started with, there is nothing in here to indicate that you should cut the basics and add Hermit Druid, that you should add, you know, Consult Oracle, that you should have specific, not just lands, but like specific card draw spells and removal over other things. Like certain things might be obvious, like, okay, Rampaging Baloth is not a competitive card, so you'd cut that, right? But where else do you take this from there? How do I know as the competitive player that I should only have Reanimate and not also Animate Dead? How do I as the competitive player know that these 6 tutors are actually not enough and this should be way more tutors? How do I as the competitive player know that the Cephalid Breakfast combo is supposed to be in this deck, or that I'm not supposed to have Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth, and that other or the like land tutoring ramp, and that other ramp or less ramp is the correct amount? I have no foundation with which to take this from its, you know, casual makeup that it is currently into the end state competitive cEDH deck that it was originally, or that it was in a different version. So these categories are happy with what they have, and this category is able to get down to what it needs fairly easily. This category has nothing to work with. There's also the fact of, if I'm trying to like build the best deck possible, right? Or I'm trying to build a deck that has a bunch of highly synergistic things, I'm gonna go pick out the cards that work the best with these cards. But if I can just throw whatever I want, like, okay, I own an Avenger of Zendikar, so that's gonna be my win condition. Does that have anything to do with the deck? Does Avenger of Zendikar play particularly well with a specific commander, or am I just tossing it in because that's what I own? What cards am I just tossing tossing into this deck that have nothing whatsoever to do with the commanders that I'm supposedly building around, but I'm just throwing them in because that's what I happen to own, or because they're budget options. Whereas if budget is not an issue and power level is not an issue, I'm just going to pick whatever cards work best with these. So that's why I build decks to be competitive, because it works for all categories of players instead of building decks as casual decks. Also, fun is subjective, so it's easier to build powerful than fun. Yeah, exactly. What if I build a deck that's, very casual and it's not highly competitive, and then someone looks at the deck and goes, why did you build this deck like this? This isn't fun. Or they take the deck and they're like, hey, I built this deck based on the video you made and the deck sucks. I couldn't compete at all in my pod. Why did you build it like this? Whereas it would probably be much easier to go, hey, I built that deck that you made a video on, but I thought it was too powerful, so I cut a bunch of the powerful cards. It's way easier to downgrade than upgrade. So I guess when I say a guide to every deck in EDH, every should really have quotation marks around it, because not every commander is worth building around. And let's say, oh, I really did do that, right? I did every single commander. Because there are people that will make Reddit posts or are content creators on YouTube who will say no, I'm going to do every single commander. All right, Tobias Andrian. What deck do you build around Tobias? He has no abilities. He's a 5 mana 4/4. So any deck that you build around him is completely arbitrary. There's no direction that building Tobias Andrian takes you in, which means if two different people build Tobias Andrian, their decks are going to look nothing alike. Secondly, let's say you actually built Tobias Andrian in real life, right? You're the crazy obsessive person who builds every single commander deck. Every legend that ever existed, I'm going to build a commander deck around them. All right, so you have, how many legendary creatures are in Magic? All right, there's 2,149. That's not counting every permutation of partner combinations and backgrounds and whatnot. So let's just say 2,149, right? It's EDH night. You and your friends are playing together. You have 2,149 options of decks that you can pull off the shelf to play. In what world are you pulling Tobias Andrian off the shelf? In what world is anyone else that you have brought over excited to play Tobias Andrian as one of the options? I've looked up this content creator's list of decks, and out of all of the options, I'm going to build Tobias Andrian in real life. Nobody's going to do that. Even if you're not all in on super pedal to the metal cEDH, make it as powerful as possible. I'm going to build Nine Fingers Keen Gates, or I'm going to build Raga Draga, Mana Dorks Get Powerful, or I'm going to build Urza, or I'm going to build Stellally. Nobody is building Tobias Andrian. So there's just no point in doing that. Remember, there's two criteria. The commander has to be powerful. That doesn't mean that it has to be cEDH level powerful, but it has to be powerful. I have to be able to show up to a pod where I don't know what anyone else is playing and have a reasonable expectation that I can actually win the game. And two, the commander has to be interesting. It can't just be generic value commander. It can't be something that's terrible. It can't be a commander that doesn't take you in any direction and you could just build any deck really and the commander is just there, for the colors or as a joke? It has to give you some direction as to what you're trying to do. The thing that I find the most fun is when you have a card that in any other context would be horrible. The card would be draft chaff from some set and nobody even has ever heard of this card or knows what it does, but it's good because it synergizes with your commander. The goal is, here's a bunch of decks that are fun decks for you to build, not here's literally a checklist of all 2,000 plus permutations that you can have.